There are many times, there are many times I hear the voice, a voice of freedom calling me. Yeah. Hey everyone, welcome back to another installment of the Politics of Kendra, where we talk about culture, spirituality, hopefully maybe a little bit of politics, maybe not too much politics, and of course, music and art. Today we have Amanda Rose Riley on the show today. Welcome, Amanda.
Hello, thank you for having me.
Yes, you're so welcome. Thanks for being here. So the way that we met was I was in Pennsylvania. We were both in Pennsylvania for the Millennium Music Conference, and we actually bunked in a hotel room during the conference. It was really great, and we played one of the same showcases at the Harrisburg Art Center right there in Harrisburg. So let me ask you, Amanda, how long have you been playing music?
That's always an interesting question because it's like what counts as playing. I mean, I
Yeah.
was improvising songs since I was 7, but I
Hmm.
started playing guitar when I was about 15, and I didn't really get serious about songwriting until about 5 years ago. So
Okay, cool. So were you always playing music? You said you started really young. Like, what drew you to music to start playing?
I don't know, it was just kind of one of those like it just like what your heart tells you to go to, I guess. Like I've always been drawn to music ever since
Hmm.
I was like as long as I can remember, since I was a toddler at least. I always used to say that I was going to be a singer.
Yeah,
Um so yeah, I've just always been attracted to music from like just intrinsically.
yeah. So when you started playing, did you join the local choir or sing in church or anything like that?
Actually, yeah, I did. I I was always a part of like the choir or chorus at my school whenever I had the chance. So I think they started having that in elementary school. So yeah, pretty much always
Yeah.
been doing that.
And where'd you grow up?
I grew up in Lincoln Park, New Jersey, so the middle of the suburbs, pretty much.
Yeah, that's cool. And are you still there? Where do you
Yeah,
live now? Yeah, cool.
yeah, I live in the same place.
How's it going out there?
You mean with the virus or just in general?
I guess in general, but overall, yeah. I guess this is like this is it. This is life
Yeah,
now. Yeah.
new normal. I hope
Yeah.
not. I think like
Same.
I think everything is eventually going to go back to normal. It doesn't feel
Hmm.
like it, but I mean, I think most people really miss normalcy. Um, I
Yeah.
don't know though. Yeah, but I mean, I like where I live. When things ever go back to normal, it's good to
Hmm.
be in easy distance of New York City.
Yeah.
Because there's not really that much going on in New Jersey. But then I live in a really quiet like place, so that's good for me too.
That's so great. That's really lovely. I live in like a quiet little section, I suppose, but I'm definitely like right here in Los Angeles. And it's been kind of interesting to be in the middle of a city during this whole thing. You know, stuff is closed down. People don't really know how to interact with each other. So you came into music at a young age. You started in choir. What drew you to pick up the guitar?
Um, Pretty much just the same thing. I mean, I've always like I suppose like I wanted to be in a band or start a band when I was really young.
Hmm.
Um, but I've always been kind of quiet and introverted, so I never had like the friends to form a band. So I
Yeah.
think eventually I was like, if I want to play music, I'm gonna have to accompany myself. Um, and yeah, like a lot of the artists that I look up to were singer-songwriters that played guitar. So
Hmm.
I was like, I should learn to play guitar, and yeah, I still
Cool.
I still probably see myself as more of a singer-songwriter, like in terms of like singing and writing songs instead of like playing like I don't see myself as a guitarist. I see
Hmm.
myself as like a singer-songwriter that accompanies myself, but
Yeah. And do you
I'm always
play?
trying to improve my guitar skills though.
Definitely. I even make some stuff up. I know that Joni Mitchell is on record saying she's like, yeah, I just kind of make stuff up on the guitar and see where it goes. And I totally do that too. You know, I feel like I have like a different relationship with it than if someone's like, oh yeah, if you could play like drop D, C major drop D. I'm like, that's gonna take me a little bit to convert in my mind to what that means.
Yeah, I need to get better at improvising because I'm more like I tend to like do really safe like traditional sort of like pop
Mm-hmm.
or punk because I'm really influenced by punk music, so like a lot of those melodies and chord progressions are really simple, and
Mm-hmm.
yeah, sometimes I think I need to take more risks.
Yeah, I mean, just like in songwriting to see where it goes, and then you can improvise when you're in the performance,
Yeah.
from some of those stuff, some of that stuff you practice during songwriting. So what did you listen to? What have you been listening to? Like, what's your progression of when you're younger, you listen to this, high school this, and now I know you listen a lot to Frank Turner, and I actually checked him out because you've mentioned him a few times. And I
Yeah.
can see the correlation there. I really like his stuff. I like the fact that he's like, I listened to the song, Be Kind to One Another, or Please Be Kind to One Another. And I really, really like that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely one of his best. All right, so I can probably go all the way back to when I was, because like I said, I've been drawn to music ever since I was a toddler. So when I was a
Mm-hmm.
toddler, I was listening to like those little educational shows for babies, and I was even obsessed with the songs back then. Like I would
Oh.
just go around like singing all of the songs from those kids shows. Um, then I had pretty much almost every music phase you can imagine. My very first like obsession with a band was probably the Spice Girls when I
Yes.
was about like 7, I think. Then I had a country phase where I was like it was pretty much like radio country like at the time.
Mm-hmm.
The late 90s, early 2000s. I was obsessed with like pop country or country rock, whatever you want to call that.
Yeah.
Uh, then yeah, I had a little Beatles phase, like most
Cool.
people.
Yep.
Um, and then it pretty much went from pop punk to like all regular punk, like classic punk from like the
Mm-hmm.
70s and 80s and stuff. And then I kind of mellowed out as I got older, and now I listen to a lot of acoustic stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Not really folk though. A lot of it is kind of like edgy acoustic punk kind of stuff, but
Nice.
everything that every phase that I went through, I still listen to a lot of that music now. Like I still listen to punk music. I listen to country occasionally, and certainly punk and pop punk.
That's cool. Do you have any bands that are specific influences for you to name?
Well, aside from Frank Turner, I think like the biggest influence on me is probably the Bouncing Souls. They're like a punk band from New Jersey, and I had a pretty long obsession with them. And I feel like their music is really like
Mm-hmm.
sort of like uplifting and positive, and I think that definitely influenced me a lot. Like a lot of the songs that I write are simple, like punk songs, and they're also really positive.
Yeah.
So yeah,
It's
that's
interesting because punk music, when you say uplifting punk, like a lot of it is kind of like feelings and thoughts and different stuff about society, but there can be like an uplifting element to it. Do you find that those are kind of separate genres, or like different types
um
of bands?
you know, I don't know. I think like it's probably an outside perception a lot of the time that
Mm-hmm.
punk music is more like angry and stuff, because I feel like if if you're like deep into it, if you listen like most punk bands, if you listen to like a whole album of theirs, you'll get like some of that angry political stuff, and then like
Mm-hmm.
you'll get some more personal stuff. And I mean, I guess like any other, like if you find any group of people wherever you are, like if it's like a church or a neighborhood or a punk scene, like you're gonna find some optimists and some pessimists, right? So I
Mm-hmm.
feel like that's probably what it is. Like some songwriters are just more optimistic, so that comes
Yeah.
out in their songwriting. I'm like,
Yeah.
I mean, I am an optimistic person. I know
Mm.
that.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. That was my next question too. Okay, so what genre is your music in particular? How would you describe your music?
See, at the it really kind of changes because I don't think about genre so much when I'm writing songs. And
Mm-hmm.
like I said, like I am really influenced by punk, so like a lot of the music I write, I would say is acoustic punk. But then I also just because of my personality and like my writing style, a lot of my songs and probably the sound of my voice too, like a lot of my songs come out sounding kind of quirky and like lighthearted and funny. So I guess like Yeah, it kind of depends on the song. Some of them are more like quirky folk and some of them are more like acoustic punk. But I am looking to have like a band on my next album, so
Cool.
that might end up being more like pop punk kind of stuff.
When you're selecting your genre, when you submit your music, what genre do you select?
I usually just go with like acoustic or folk, like whichever one
Yeah.
is available,
Yeah.
or singer songwriter. Any of those I think fit pretty well.
Very cool. Very cool. I love the idea that you were like, I love what you said that you're like, well, I want to start a band, but you like are kind of a loner. I
Yeah.
resonated with that quite a bit. I feel like such a loner. The other day I was, milling around my apartment after being inside for like 5 months. I've gone outside and I went to visit family for a little bit, but I was thinking, I was like, I haven't been like this isolated since college. And it was just kind of a surreal thing, like, being in my thoughts. I'm just like super connected to my thoughts right now, to the point that it's like existentialism, being in the moment so much at the same time as being outside the moment. It's very surreal. So I feel like it's been a benefit. Do you think it's been a benefit for your songwriting and you as an artist, this time, to yourself? And whenever this podcast comes out, I think it might be in like a month to a month and a half. We're recording this in the early September of 2020. How has the pandemic affected your songwriting?
Um, I don't know if I'll say like it's better, like I'm better off than I would have been if everything didn't get shut down, but I've definitely made the most of it. I
Mm-hmm.
know it was really hard for me like at the very beginning because like you said you haven't been this isolated since college. For me it's like it's been really weird because I've always been kind of like a socially anxious person that's kind of like avoided going out, and like in the past few years I've gradually made myself do that more and more, and especially with my music career, like every year it was getting a little bit better and I was playing more and more shows, and then this was going to be like my most active year yet, and
Yeah.
then it's like okay, never mind, everything is just shut down. So it was weird to be like growing and then suddenly everything is just shut down, and I
Mm-hmm.
was really depressed for like a couple of weeks at the beginning, but then I just kind of I stopped myself. I was like, all right, I have no control over the pandemic. I have no control over what the government decides to allow and not allow.
Mm-hmm.
And like the only thing I can control is like whatever opportunities are available right now,
Mm-hmm.
like how much I'm going to take advantage of that. So I started like live streaming a lot and being part of a lot of communities on Facebook where people are doing live streams, and yeah, doing more songwriting and stuff because this is kind of the perfect time for songwriting.
Mm-hmm.
It's a little bit of a paradox because like you have a lot of time to yourself to write and stuff, but then you're not getting as much inspiration because a lot of time you get inspiration from living your life and being out in the world. So, but
Right.
yeah, luckily I had a lot of old ideas sitting around,
Yeah.
so I'm working on those.
A little bit of that, and then also like a lot of my songwriting has turned to like very wordsy, thought driven pieces, whereas before it was kind of more open, like, oh, I went and I met this person and then this was inspired. Now it's like the rhymes and the alliteration in between different verses. At least the most recent song I wrote, that's what got me into the mindset of like, wow, I haven't felt this way since college. Just like hearing myself talk and hearing myself think over and over. Kind of like the same headspace I used to get in when I got really pressured to write a paper. I'd be like, oh my gosh. I don't know, maybe it's just a phase right now. So you have been live streaming during the pandemic. It's been very inspirational to see. In fact, you've had me on to do a little bit of collaborative thing. I love this idea. She had me on for an Instagram live stream called a song swap, where Amanda would perform a song, I'd perform a song, she'd perform a song, and just kind of go on like that for like 45 minutes to an hour. But you're also doing a weekly live stream. How's that going?
It's weird because like I would say like 2 or 3 months in, a lot of people were asking me, they're like, oh yeah, like live streaming peaked already and like now people aren't watching as much, so I'm not really doing it anymore because people aren't watching as much. And it's really weird because that hasn't been my experience at all. Like I actually had fewer viewers at the beginning,
Mm-hmm.
but I've sort of formed like a core audience and community that I never had before this, which so that's kind of like an advantage of the pandemic. But like yeah, I mean, I would say my viewership has kind of the first few months it was growing every week, and now it's pretty much been the same, but it hasn't decreased at all. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm enjoying it. And I'm not even like, I was also learning a lot of new songs before. At the moment, I'm focused really heavily on songwriting. So I haven't been adding new songs to my streams.
Mm-hmm.
I've basically been playing like a lot of the same stuff, and I'm not losing viewers, but
Yeah.
it's really cool. People, I think a lot of people are still craving it. I mean, because if you think about it, music fans, like, for the most part, there's nowhere you can go to shows. Like, I have a lot of friends in the UK. They're doing a little bit of shows now in the
Okay.
UK.
Yeah.
But like, certainly where I live in a lot of places, they're not doing anything. And
Mm-hmm.
people are still craving that connection, like that live interaction with
Yeah.
artists. So I think there are a lot of people that want to watch them.
When I've tuned into other people's live streams, I even have a friend that started reading tarot cards on live streams. And
Oh,
it's
that's cool.
kind of interesting because obviously I've been live streaming as a musician, and I just kind of like, I don't know, I get in this performance mode. And also the way that I stream it, I don't see the chat come up automatically
Oh,
unless I'm doing just one platform at a time. So now I'm speaking from being an audience member. I tuned into my friend's tarot card live stream, and it was just like, she was right there reading to me, and I'd type back and she'd go, you know, hey, welcome, would you like a reading? And I'm like, yes. And it's just like so personal right there. So I felt a lot of human connection, and I thought it was really beneficial. And it was kind of like surreal to have this real time broadcasted reading personalized to me right then, right there, right in front of my face. Additionally, I like what you said about having these connections that have kind of appeared, you know, during this time. I've had the same experience too, where I have a core group of people who tune into almost all of my live streams. And I'm like, oh, wow, this is kind of like the same core audience that I would get if I had a residency at a local club here, or was doing like a
yeah.
coffee shop monthly or weekly thing. There'd be someone who'd be in the neighborhood and they'd go, oh my gosh, I'm your newest fan. And they'd be at every single show. I've experienced that quite a bit, and it's been so fruitful, especially with the fact that like some of these people live in California, and we know each other through other people. Some people live in different states in the Midwest, and it's all over the place. And so I'm connecting with people I might not have connected with if I hadn't
Same
been
with me.
live streaming. And it's allowed for like a whole new platform. You know, we've got clubs. Well, when things open again, we'll have clubs, we'll have bars, we'll have like big arenas, we'll have coffee shops, open mics, busking, but then we'll also have live streams. So it's like,
Yeah.
okay, I would go out to an open mic, or, you know, I've got the night off, so let me just go ahead and live stream, you know, in months from now or years from now,
Yeah.
whenever
Now,
we're back.
do you consider yourself an optimist too? I'm
Yeah,
curious.
it's so interesting because I used to be an idealist. And I may or may not know what that phrase means, but my brother used to call me an idealist all the time because I'd be like, oh, it's all sunshine and daisies. And I do think that, but there is like, I've come face to face with seeing some of the like lies or corruption or just like manipulation of things to get what other people want, because it's during an election year or whatever. So I'm just witnessing, I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, this person wants me to think that person wants me to think that, and just like seeing that. So it's like I'm super
Yeah.
optimistic, but being face to face with just the way that we act in a crisis. So it's like beneficial, and then at the same time it's like bringing up this stuff about society that I didn't expect to see the truth of. It's kind of ironic because it's like I'm seeing so much truth in so many different orchestrated lies and stuff like that. So I'm super optimistic, but also a realist when it comes to emotion
Yeah.
and energy.
Yeah. But I mean, like, I guess I'm just thinking like about people just like who will find opportunities
Oh
instead
yeah.
of like looking for like bad things, because I was just thinking like it does seem like the people that are faring the best, the musicians that are faring the best right now are the optimists. And I feel like if you're going to do something so difficult, like trying to be a musician, like you kind
Mm-hmm.
of have to have that. Cause like I said, like there's people that are like not even bothering with live streaming at all, which is their only opportunity, because they're like, oh, it's not the same as live shows, so I'm not even going to bother. Or like they just think people don't want to watch it.
Mm-hmm.
um and then they're like missing out on all this stuff that we're
Yeah.
experiencing, because I found it really beneficial. And I
Yeah.
also like, I mean, yeah, just like socializing and hanging out with a friend, it's not the same if it's online, it's not as good, but it's still
Yeah.
something, you know. So like when I do like a live a live stream that I'm like playing a concert to people, it's not as good as being in real life, but I still feel like I'm playing a concert to people. Like I've heard people
Yeah.
say stuff like, "Oh, how can you have fun just singing to a phone?" And I'm like, it's not singing to a phone though. Like people are listening to you. You
Yeah.
are interacting. So, yeah, I just don't like people being negative about that kind of stuff.
Oh, not at all. I mean, it's the same, it's kind of the same feeling. And I've looked at it this way too. It's like, I could be driving up and down the coast of California and in and out of Arizona and flying to different places or going to all these places to do the club circuit, but I'm kind of accomplishing the same thing. You know, I'd go to a venue and I'd get 5 fans at that show, 5 fans at that show, but that's the point of my career where I'm in. So
Yeah.
when I live stream and I get 3 dedicated fans or 5 more dedicated fans a week, that's huge because they're dedicated,
Yeah.
they're tuning in. I'm like, oh, I sang this song last time. I hope they don't care. And they're like, I love it. I'm so glad you sang it. You sang it differently this time. I love how when
Yeah.
I tune in, there's a different vibe every time. And I'm like, that's cool. Because it's helping me just like get my chops up and learn my songs in and out. And I have been writing a lot of new songs too, from whatever inspiration they're coming about from. Some of them are old projects as well. But some of them I haven't even debuted in my live streams yet. And I'm just like, hey, you guys, I've got new songs. I'm working on them. I promise I'm working on them. I wanted to ask you about, you did this kind of like series where a month where you wrote a song a day, or you wrote in front of people. What was that?
Actually, okay, so the one that I wrote in front of people was a special thing, but I'm still in the middle of the 50/90 project. So it's where you
Okay.
write it's like an online community where you try to write 50 songs in 90 days. And it was July 4th through October 1st. So
Mm-hmm.
we're almost done. We're almost there. And I think I'm at 37 right now. So
Wow.
I think I'm gonna make it. And yeah, just sort of like as a way to shake things up, I did write one of the songs in an hour on my live on my Facebook page and sort of explained the whole process I was doing it.
Mm-hmm.
So that was kind of cool. And yeah, like same as you, like most of the songs I'm writing, I haven't debuted yet at all because
Mm-hmm.
it's just too hard to memorize them all if you're writing like a song every day or every other day.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, like I'm really excited about this because I'm gonna release a new album like probably in the spring or summer,
Mm-hmm.
and this is probably gonna be like one of the best albums I've written because I have so many songs to choose from and I've been taking more risks and stuff. So yeah, I'm really excited about
Cool.
that.
Cool. Yeah. Taking more risks because you're like, well, I can always write a new song tomorrow.
Yeah, exactly.
What's been your experience with having like each one be unique? Are you picking up themes between each day? Like you're writing about something and then next day writing about the same thing, or how do you mix it up?
You know, I at the very beginning, I was afraid that I wasn't going to be able to come up with different ideas, so I actually was doing a theme. The first couple of days I wrote a children's album, which is kind of cool because I'm probably going to release that eventually. But then eventually I was like, okay, I have like 100 ideas that I've been wanting to write for a really long time, so let me just go through those. And
Mm-hmm.
I've kind of been doing that ever since. And yeah, like I mean, obviously the idea, like the concept ideas that I've had have all been kind of original because I had them for a long time. They were like sparks of inspiration that came to
Yeah.
me. Like melodically and stuff, I was worried that all the songs were going to sound the same, but just because I've been sort of taking more risks, like
Yeah.
what I'll do is like I'll have the lyrics and I'll just kind of improvise a melody and I'll be like, okay, is that good and interesting? If it is, then I keep that line. If it's not,
Mm-hmm.
then I'm like, okay, then I have to come up with another idea and I'll just like come up with a few ideas until I find something I'm happy with. So
Mm-hmm.
like, yeah, I feel like I'm on an adventure, to be honest. It's been a lot of fun. And
Yeah.
my songwriting is improving a lot
That's so
from it.
cool. How do you choose word choice? How do you stay up to date on like, do you read a lot or do you keep it thesaurus?
Um, I would say both. Like I do read a lot. I try to read like because honestly mostly I'm not very interested in fiction. So but you
Yeah.
know you get if you're just aiming for like more fluency with words, you can get that from nonfiction. So I do read like advanced kind of nonfiction books, and I like to read like the higher class news sources because
What does that entail?
You mean the news sources?
Yeah, tell me some
I
examples.
read like The Economist and Reuters and stuff like that because they tend
Okay.
to just use like I feel like they use more fluid words or something. Um, but yeah, I mean just not like NBC.com and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Um, but
Those
yeah,
are
and
all regurgitated stories anyway.
yeah,
Like the
I've
smaller
tried
sites.
reading more novels like in the past year, so I
Mhm.
have done that a little bit, but it doesn't come naturally to me.
Yeah.
And I do have a thesaurus on hand. I use thesaurus.com like whenever I'm writing.
Yeah, yeah. That's cool. I had someone mention to me that staying up to date on reading, whatever it is, you know, news sources, poems. I like to read a lot of nonfiction and memoirs and like travel
Yeah.
stories. Those just helps us stay up to date. In fact, like when I'm really into a book, I'll circle words that I like, and then a lot of some of my songs are directly inspired by a book I read, and the words I've circled in the book. So I'm like, okay, this song is about that book. It's kind of cool in that way if you're looking for another route of stuff to come up with, how to come up with stuff. So what projects have you been working on? Is that song that you sent me? What projects have you been working on?
Um so well just the song that I sent you was from my album that I released in May.
Hmm.
But right now, yeah, like I said, I'm doing the 50/90 project. So after I have 50 songs, which I pretty much I like I said, one of them I got 10 or 11 songs that was a children's album, so I'm
Yeah,
probably going to release that eventually. And then out of the rest of the 50 songs, it's going to be like probably choosing the best 10 or 11 so that I can release my next album. And like I said, I'm hoping to get a band together for that.
cool.
And yeah, we'll just see what happens. But I could say like the theme is kind of shaping up to be about like friendship and following your dreams and mental health and
Hmm.
sort of like coming of age.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess kind of thing.
Where do you record?
Well, I'm probably gonna be like looking for a different studio this
Yeah.
year, so I'm not sure. But yeah, there is a local studio that I recorded some of my albums in, and then some of them I do at home. But
Hmm.
I'm not a particularly talented producer, so like for stuff that I'm taking seriously, I don't like to record at home.
Yeah, I ended up recording my next album release that'll be out. Actually, I just secured the date for September 25th. I
Oh, that's
recorded
great.
that. Yeah, I'm excited. I'm gonna wait till tomorrow to announce it though. Um, so I recorded that at home because it's like I was thinking about doing it in the studio, and of course I started to meditate over the studio costs and getting a full band, and I was like, okay, let's do it, let's do it, let's do it. And then it was like, okay, everyone stay inside and lock down. So those plans got
Right.
set aside. So I ended up recording this whole album at home, and it's definitely a step in the right direction with like, you know, the quality, my style, all of that. But it really was like a jump up in my ability to hear as a producer. Like between
Yeah.
my last release, because I've self-recorded all of my releases before, it definitely sounds like a step up in the right direction. But you're right. Like I would love to record at a studio. I have been talking to some people about like how to make that happen and when, even like someone in Nashville. So okay, you sent me two songs. Let's talk about the songs. You sent me one that I've heard quite a few times. I love that song, Better, Get
Hmm.
Better. What's it called?
It's called Better.
Better. Was that on your previous release?
Yeah, that was on my most recent release, which was released on May 8th.
Cool. Cool. And how has been the reception to that, and how have you felt about the album since its release?
Um, well, I'm very happy with the quality of the songwriting and everything.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like obviously it wasn't a great time to release the album because it wasn't even I mean, now we are kind of in a new normal, but back in
Yeah.
May, I think everybody was still kind of like, "Oh, what's going to happen?" Like
Yeah.
trying to figure out how we can get everything back to normal as soon as possible. But you know, I did do like some kind of promotional and marketing plan and it went like slightly better than my last album, so I think
Cool.
that's all I can really hope for.
Yeah. That's a really good perspective. It's like, okay, this went better than the last one, and there was
Yeah.
some growth, and I think I, you know, put my best foot forward. Then you also sent me a song called Boxed In.
Yeah.
Did you write that during the pandemic?
It's funny. I actually wrote that in February, and it just sounds like it's about the pandemic.
Yeah.
That's happened to me with other things too, where it's like I wrote it before something happened, and
Yep.
that like seems to fit perfectly. But yeah, I like for a while, every time I played that one, I was like, I was like, okay, this is not about the pandemic. I wrote it before the pandemic because I didn't
Yeah.
want people to think I was one of those like science deniers or like everybody has to be like in a crowd right now. Because yeah, it's basically about getting out there and like being
Yeah.
around people and stuff like that. So, but I mean, it still kind of applies because it's either you can either take it kind of metaphorically
Hmm.
or you can think about for the future because at some point we are going to have to get out again. And I think
Yeah.
a lot of people are going to have trouble with it, not just because they're afraid of getting sick, but like people will have spent so much time alone that they're like afraid of
Yes.
being around people and like just socially.
Yeah.
So that's going to be interesting.
Yeah. And coming from people who've dealt with social anxiety for years, I'm like, oh, this is nothing
Yeah.
new. I always have to like give myself a pep talk before I walk into the grocery store, stuff like
Yeah.
that.
I used to live in a tree, and now I live in the siding of a condominium complex. As a squirrel, my shelter protects my body from the elements. But these giant decorated wood compartments, they are something else. One for the baby in a crib, one for the cooking, and a little one for all the clothes they used to hide their skin beneath. Why do you wanna box yourself in? There's a human on the other side of your wall. Their head is 7 inches away from your head, and you don't know them. Why do you wanna box yourself in? They try to get me to leave, 'cause I'm a wild animal and that makes me dirty. They like to separate from the outside. They like their privacy. And as I skitter to the other side, the suburbs rise up around me. As I realize this building's the rule, not the exception. This is how humans live. This is their first choice. Why do you wanna box yourself in? There's a human on the other side of your wall. Their head is 7 inches away from your head, and you don't know them. Why do you wanna box yourself in? They try to get me to leave, and this time I sneak into a moving truck. We travel for so long, I start to feel sick. But out in the open on the other side is the city. Buildings that reach up to the sky, every window compartmentalized. But I see another kind of place now. There's strangers reading together and eating together and shyly approaching each other over beer. You know you don't have to be so shy, 'cause she's just as lonely as you are.
Some of the lyrics of your song are talking about how you know, we're boxed into these apartments and condos, and your neighbor's head is literally 6 feet away from you through a wall. And I've thought about that before. I'm like, we're literally like sleeping next to each other, like we're freaking siblings or bunkmates or roommates, but we're in a whole different place, and we like don't talk, or maybe you do talk. I've gotten to know some of my neighbors during this time, but it's like they're like sleeping right next to us. And so what was the inspiration of that song to write it?
It's interesting because it's interesting you brought that part up, because that was actually like a separate song idea that I had. Like, I was just literally like sitting in my room one day, and like I could hear the person in the apartment next to me sneeze. And I was like that's a really interesting concept, because I'm not even entirely sure who that person is. And I was thinking how like somebody could pass like their whole life right behind your head, like touching the same wall, and like they can live and die there, and you'll never meet them. Like, and I think that's so weird. Like, and I had like, it's interesting because this other song that I had, like this idea boxed in, it's from the point of view of a squirrel, in case you didn't know that. But like that was a separate idea I had, where I was like, it must be so weird for animals, even though I know that they can't really think like us, but like if they could, they would be like, isn't it so weird that humans have these like wooden boxes or whatever it's made of, and like everything we do is like in these boxes, like, you know. And it's like, sometimes it's like, why? Because obviously originally it was for shelter, but it's like store, like everything we do is like in a little wooden box, and everybody has their own room, and it's just kind of weird if you think about it. And I realized that those two ideas, like the stranger behind your wall and then being boxed in, those kind of went together, so ended up being one song.
Kind of reminds me of in Fight Club, where he's like talking about the IKEA furniture to fill up his apartment. I don't know, that book and movie are really close to me, but he's like, I get all this stuff from IKEA, this like cheap furniture, this sleek looking futuristic furniture to fill up my apartment that I'm then locked in. And it's like, I want to be free. And my version of freedom is being able to go pick up whatever furniture I want to deck out this box I live in. Interestingly enough, I wrote a song about, the working title of the song was Boxed Ya In. I ended up changing the title of the song for this album. I'm about to release it. And so when I heard that, I was like, oh my gosh, I totally understand this theme. So I wrote this song as I was like leaving a football game, a college football game. I wasn't in college at the time, but a college football game, and it had been raining and stuff. And I was just in a really bad mood. I was in a really miserable mood. And there was just all these puddles, and I was walking to my car, and I had just started songwriting, and I got this idea for a song. So I turned on my memos. I was like, okay, let's see where this goes. Start singing a melody, and then I'm like walking to my car, and there's like ditches and there's grass. So I'm like jumping over puddles, and like in the middle of the song, I'm like falling in these puddles while I'm recording, and I'm like, this is ridiculous. So I don't know exactly how that correlates to the meaning of the song, but that's a backstory of how I came up with the melody. But basically the gist of the song is, boxed us in, couldn't get out, decided to make my own route. And I was walking by the Space Science Center at CU Boulder. That's the college I was at. And there's like a big rocket ship in their college space building. And so I like brought in this like imagery of like missiles and stuff like that. And just like, then I go to put this on this album, and I had written it like way before, and I'm like recording it, and it's like boxed us in, and there's like the threat of external stuff. So it's not like a missile or anything, luckily, but it's like the threat of external kind of thing, and being kind of, it's out of my control and stuff. And so I do know what you mean about writing these songs. And then when I go to record it or perform it or something, I'm like, this is so much about now. Boxed us in, couldn't get out, decided to make my own route. And so I think about it in like the way it's like, you know, we take these opportunities, we get boxed in or put in a corner or something, and we come up with these opportunities like, all right, well, I'll live stream, I'll do a songwriting 50 and 90 where I write a new song every day, and just like make the best of it no matter what. We make our own route and the best of it no matter what. And we make our own route as independent musicians as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's your what gets you up in the morning? What's your mission and your reason behind your music, or just in general for you?
That's a good question. I mean, yeah, I think music is definitely my reason for being. Like, I feel like I was born to write songs and perform. And like I'm kind of, I don't know if it's kind of unique in this sense, but I definitely feel like I'm um equally meant for both of those. Like, I don't feel like I like performing or songwriting better than the other.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I like both of them a lot. And I guess that's just about, for me, it's about two things, or I guess it's about like one thing. It's about expressing something like deep inside of me and then like sharing it with somebody else. So it's basically about connecting with other people. And for me, just like my experiences and like the way that I'm built or designed or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
I feel like music is like the number one best way to connect with people, and it's the
Mm-hmm.
best way to express yourself. It's better than just words.
Yeah.
I'm not a particularly visual person, so I don't really find it useful to communicate with art, visual art, but
Mm-hmm.
you know, yeah, for me music is just like the best way.
Yeah. That's cool, because music, you can do like a music video element, you can do the artwork.
Yeah,
There's,
that's true.
yeah, and you're like telling a story through the song that's encompassing. Because like I've been thinking about this too. I'll be at concerts and then I'll hear a song and I'm like, whoa, this is a whole different experience. I'm like listening to the
Yeah.
story of the song, and then it becomes a story in my life. And then I'll be on my merry way and then remember the lyrics. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is what that song is about, at least to me. And it's kind of like music has this 3D element of time and space and experience, that's like, yeah, experienced by people and played out loud.
Yeah, I was gonna say like that's an interesting point because like for since I'm writing a lot of songs and I need a lot of musical inspiration, I've been kind of revisiting songs that I used to be in love with when I was growing up, like at
Uh-huh.
different times of my life. And it is so weird how like if there's a song that you haven't heard in like 10 years, when you hear it, like you're just instantly flooded with all these memories like of different times when you were listening to it. And it's so weird, like certain songs that I listen to, like I'll just get a memory of like when I would be on the school bus, like going to high school, and I would have my
Mhm.
little CD player.
Yeah.
Um, and like I can just remember everything about that part of my life, like the way that the feelings that I used to have, like all the sensations, like all the way that the seat of the bus felt. You know, it's so weird how like a song can just get all of those memories attached to it, sensory memories and everything.
You snapped at someone yesterday when you were going through some shit. And though they were moving slow and you were hangry, still they didn't deserve it. You're not a saint, you're not perfect, but you and I are worth it. 'Cause you've been terrible, you've been horrible, and it's got you feeling so bad. You got the point across, but all is never lost. There's always better days to be had. You always look to make yourself better. You care so much about other people, and you feel so much empathy that you beat yourself up every time you hurt them, even when you didn't mean it. It's like you're only as worthy as your worst excuse for being hurtful. 'Cause you've been terrible, you've been horrible, and it's got you feeling so bad. You got the point across, but all is never lost. There's always better days to be had. You always look to make yourself better. Every move you make is a chance to fuck up, but every day's another chance to get better. Every move you make is a chance to fuck up, but every day's another chance to get better. You're gonna be just fine. You're gonna be just fine. You're gonna be just fine. be just fine.
Yeah, definitely. I was just experiencing what a school bus seat like felt like. That was so weird. I could like visualize it and like feel it, like the like brown leather that's kind of like
Yeah.
missing in the gaps and like there's threads
Yeah.
everywhere. Wow, that was very descriptive. And I also made a playlist recently with some of the stuff I used to listen to. I listened to like, I guess it would be pop punk. So like one of the songs that comes to mind is like, I woke up in a car. Dun,
Oh,
dun,
I
dun,
love
dun,
that.
dun,
Something
dun, dun.
corporate.
Yeah, yeah. And I named the
That's
playlist.
on my list too.
Yeah, for sure. I love that style of music so much. Okay, so your next project, you have been writing all these songs. You've got a ton of songs that you want to work with the upcoming album. Do you have a theme for the album, or is it's just in like the phase of next project?
Yeah, it's kind of hard because I suppose like I do have my like top 10 or 12 songs so far, but I'm also not done. Like I'm gonna write another 12 songs, and for all I know, those could be the best 12 that I
Yeah.
write. And I also like I definitely want to get some feedback from people who are familiar with me and my music, like just to see which ones are the best, and like because it might not be the same ones that I think are the best. But yeah, like I said, I think it's gonna be basically about like following your dreams and like mental health and stuff. But then like saying that, I mean, most of my songs have already been about that. So it's just kind of like the specifics of what song ends up, usually like whatever song ends up being the strongest one for me, that's the one that ends up sort of like dictating the theme of the album. Like for Better, that
Yeah.
was that was the name of the release, so that was the title track, and I just felt like that was the strongest song. And then when I decided that was going to be the title track, I realized that like all of the songs on the album were kind of about that same concept, just about getting better in some way, like whether it was like as a person or relationship or like even politically. There was one song. So yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. I like your song Better. Where did you record it, or tell me some of the elements of the production for the song?
Yeah, so I recorded it at a studio called Portrait Recording Studios. I think that's the full name of it, in Pompton Plains, New Jersey. And with a guy called Chris Badami that I've recorded with before. He's pretty good. He's also a good percussionist, but I didn't have the time and money to like do a whole production, so it was just acoustic for this one.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was pretty like on a timeline, which is kind of, it's really kind of funny because that was my own thing. I recorded it in the first or second week of March, so it was literally like right before everything got shut down, and like even the studios got shut down. So if I had given myself like another week, I wouldn't have been able to complete it. But it was actually because I was going to go to England in May, and I wanted to have the album for that. So that's why I was kind of like on a tight schedule, and then that ended up not happening.
Yeah.
So I just had like, but at least I finished the album and I had it all ready by May. So I just released it, because I'm like, I'd rather release it and make room for the next thing, because I know some people were like holding off on releasing their music, and I don't personally think that's a good idea, because it's like by the time everything is a good environment for releasing music again, you're probably going to have new stuff that you want to release. So you should probably release the stuff that you have now, because it might not be as relevant to you personally or as relevant to the world, a year from now.
Definitely. That's how I feel about stuff, because it's like my new album, I've listened to it 5 million times and I love it, but I'm already feeling like my new songs I'm writing are kind of different.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that artists should release their music whenever it's like right there and then release it. What were you going to do in England besides perform, obviously?
Well, it was going to be pretty cool, because it was going to be my first time in Germany, because Frank Turner was doing, he does an annual festival every year. Like I actually played it last year, because he did it in Boston. He did it in Boston last year, and it was going to be in Berlin this year. So I was going to go to that, just not to perform, but just to watch. And that was going to be cool. And then like either before or after, I was going to do like a whole little tour of England. because there are some places that I've already performed in England, and then I was gonna look for some new places. I had a lot of friends on Twitter, like singer-songwriter friends that I was gonna team up with to do shows, and it was actually shaping up pretty nicely, and then I had to cancel the whole thing. But
Yeah.
you know, I mean, there's gonna be time for that in the future, so
Yeah.
I'll just do it another year.
Yeah.
Do the same thing.
Totally. Yeah, you'll be able to do it another year, and you said you have friends out there who want to
Yeah.
collaborate. So it's kind of like being postponed. Are you saying that there's a Frank Turner Fest? So like what do you guys call yourselves? The Turners or the Frankies?
There's a Facebook group called the Frank Turner Army, and I've also heard people call themselves Turnerds.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, there's a festival called it's called Lost Evenings Festival, which is one of his lyrics. Yeah, it's pretty cool. He usually does, like, he'll have a lot of people, because he's always been very supportive of like other musicians and stuff. So everybody gets to know like who his friends are and the up and coming artists that he supports, and like so all of those people, or like some of those people, will play. And then there's usually like little parties and open, like last year they had open mics, which was cool. Sometimes they have like quiz nights. So it's a lot of fun.
Do they quiz you on the lyrics from his songs?
Well, the one that they had, I mean, it's not like it was organized by him. It was like organized by fans, but then like they kind of officially sanctioned it or whatever.
Yeah.
And there was a section about his lyrics, and then there was like a section about his life, and then there was a section just about like the history of London, because like a lot of his songs talk about London and stuff, because that's where he lives.
Okay.
So yeah, it was pretty cool. I can't wait to go to the next one, wherever it happens to be.
That's cool that last year it was in Boston.
Yeah.
You know, so it was like right there. What are your ties to England?
I just love it a lot. I mean, I guess pretty much since the beginning of when I was going there, I was already really into Frank Turner. So he has like songs that are specifically about London, so I always wanted to go there.
Yeah.
And I've had friends who like told me that I would really like it. And yeah, I just did. Like, it was one of those things, like, I don't know if you have a place that you feel that way about, but like when I'm there, I just feel like this is a place I belong. Like, this is like my soulmate place.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I've been there, I think I've been there like 7 times now. And yeah, I've made a lot of friends.
Totally.
I've done a lot of performing. So yeah, I feel like I just have ties like that. Like, it's basically intrinsic, but then now I have a lot of friends and memories and experiences there.
Yeah. That reminds me of like my ties to Colorado, because there's so much jam band music there. So I naturally gravitate towards there, and I feel like so much of my soul is alive when I'm seeing live music there, when I'm talking with people there, and just like everything about that state just feels like, I say it feels like home, but now I guess it feels like my home away from home, because I'm in California. Yeah. California is really great too. I mean, the music scene here is very legit. There's all sorts of different styles. We've got singer-songwriters, hard rock, hip hop, pop. So I'm very happy with the music scene here. In fact, I actually booked a show on September 25th, like a real live show. It's going to be outdoors, you know, and probably a little bit awkward or something like that. But I'm excited to see places kind of opening up. I know some places are having, we have a lot of comedians here, so we have some places opening up to do comedy outside. Is anywhere in New Jersey or New York starting to open up kind of?
Yeah, actually, like things were opening up in July, because we had outdoor dining at the end of June, and indoor dining just opened up again. So I played, but it's like, because the restaurants and bars and stuff are struggling, like they're not booking as much music, and the ones that are, they're like, oh, we're only booking like one artist a night and once a week or whatever. So it's been really hard to get gigs, but I played 2 outdoor shows so far, and like I'm trying to be really persistent, reaching out to venues that are doing music, and hopefully I'll start getting more like in the coming months. So, yeah.
Where are your live stream viewers living? What section of the earth?
It's interesting. Like I have like people from all over. Like I do have a few like local fans and friends and family, and then I do have some people from England. I've got somebody, I think, from Germany that watches regularly. yeah, that's what's cool about this, because those people wouldn't usually be watching a show together. So
Hmm.
like they're forming a little community
Yeah.
around my music now, and like it feels good. Like even though, because that's kind of like the dream, isn't it? Like you want people to form a community around your music, and like you kind of think, oh, I'm gonna need like thousands and thousands of fans before that happens, but you really don't. You just need like a handful,
Yeah.
especially online.
Right. And consistent fans who will be there for you and are interested in hearing your new stuff and are supportive.
Yeah.
It's really cool because like I am an optimistic, but at the same time I have negative thought patterns that I've really got to witness during this time, because it's like
Right.
it's not like I hear myself think, but sometimes it's almost like I hear the thought. It'll be something negative that goes by and it's like, yeah, but you're a no good for nothing. Everyone
Yeah.
dislikes you or whatever it is. It like goes by and I'm like, whoa, what was that? So I'm coming face to face with some of my negative thought processes, and I'm realizing, so then I'm getting fans who are like tuning in every live stream. And at first when that started to happen, of course I was like, how can I hold on to them without how can I make sure that they don't leave? And I'm like, okay, one, that's a
Right.
thought pattern you need to work on. Immediately when you get and I had witnessed this in like friendships and relationships and stuff like that, whenever I'd get like a new relationship or a new viewer, I'd be like, how do I make sure they don't leave? And it's like, it's not about that. So then I started to get accustomed to that. And then the next thought process was like, well, why do they like me? What do I have to offer? Like,
Yeah.
it's basically just the same thing of like, how can I get them not to leave? And it's like, why do they like me and stuff like that? So it's been super helpful, like having people show up and just realizing like, oh my gosh, I almost have been my own roadblock in this whole thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. I
Yeah.
think a lot of creative people are prone to that kind of thinking. Like
Mm-hmm.
I find that the most helpful thing for me is journaling. I don't know if you do that, but like
Yeah.
especially I try to do it now, because it used to just be like when I needed to vent, but now I try to do it during positive times too, because then you
Yeah.
can look back and be like, okay, what was it that was working so well for me at that time when I was really happy and really productive? But also like when I do
Yeah.
need to vent, instead of just venting, I'll try to sort of like analyze it a little bit better and try to be a little bit more solution focused.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think I've journaled more during this pandemic than I ever did before. I think I've probably written 100 pages since
Really?
March. Yeah.
What's your
Um,
journaling style? Free write or how do you write?
yeah, I just write like, as though I'm having a conversation, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever I'm thinking about. And a lot of times it ends up being a brain drain, and I'll come up with where, like, if I'm feeling anxious, I'll just start journaling,
Uh-huh.
and I'll think I'm worried about one thing, but then like 20 other worries will come out that I didn't even know I had.
Yeah.
So it's like it really does help me a lot, because then I can sort of address those things that I brought to the surface. And yeah, I find that's been keeping me sane. That and just staying really busy, I think.
Yeah. Staying busy has been very helpful. And it's kind of weird because I got a lot more busy, or it feels like maybe I was just reaching that part in my career where stuff was about to get more busy.
Yeah,
Just
me
like
too.
lots of opportunities and stuff like that. And I'm glad that we have the internet and this is happening now versus even, I guess, like 5 years ago. It would be cool, but like to be able to have like this technology where I can clearly see you, there's not like a huge lapse in time or latency, is really wonderful.
Yeah, I mean, imagine during the 1918 flu pandemic, when everybody just had their immediate family and like whatever books or whatever you had,
Yeah.
that was it.
Yeah.
I mean, they didn't have TV, they didn't have video chats, they didn't have phones. I don't think they had phones.
No, I don't
That
think
might have
they,
made me sound stupid.
I was thinking, I was like, did they have air conditioning in 1918?
Nah, I don't think
Definitely.
so.
No, I think that was like the 50s.
Yeah.
It was really hot here in Los Angeles. Of course, the whole state is on fire. I'm looking out my window now and it's just smog or
Oh, yeah,
smoke.
that's
Yeah.
awful.
Yeah. It's a bummer because it's like on top of everything else, you know.
Yeah.
I'm in the city, so I'm okay. But all the people who are like, man, this on top of everything else, you know, and having to evacuate their houses and stuff like that. That's
See, like on the East Coast at this time of year, the hurricane season is always looming. Like you just never
really,
know it. Yeah, like I mean, people in the South, like Florida and the coastal South, like they have to worry a lot more because they can like lose their houses and stuff. But
Uh-huh.
where we live, we do like every couple of years, there will be like a really bad hurricane that leaves us with really bad flooding
Yeah.
or really bad wind that like knocks over trees and like kills people and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so that kind of sucks. But that's more of like you don't really know what's gonna happen until it happens, you know?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But you guys have a lot of ongoing issues that just like seems like they don't know how to solve them like for the long term.
Yeah, I mean, California in general seems to have that kind of vibe right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'll have to learn more about the state before I make any determinative statements about how I think that we should handle wildfires and stuff like that.
Oh yeah, I
You
would
know,
never
'cause,
try to like solve big problems like that. I know.
and homelessness. That's
Yeah,
a
there's like
huge issue right now in LA and San Fran. It's
yeah.
homelessness. Yeah.
Yeah. But it's like all of those issues, it's like there's so many experts like working on those things and like
Mm-hmm.
nobody can really figure it out.
Yeah. So, are they really experts?
Those are things that are hard to be optimistic about. I have to
Exactly.
say.
Yeah. Okay, so I think we've covered a lot of stuff. Where can we stream your music and listen to you and get in contact with you, and tell me about your live streams, your weekly live streams?
Yeah, so I mean, I'm pretty much on all of the streaming and download and social media sites. So like wherever people like to listen to music or interact or whatever, I'm there under Amanda Rose Riley. But yeah, I have a website, amandaroseriley.com, that has all my links and everything like that. And then I do my weekly live streams, facebook.com/Amanda Rose Riley. And like I said, like at the moment, I'm basically just playing a stream of my favorite original songs and covers, which is a lot of punk songs and Frank Turner songs, to be honest.
Yeah.
But in the future, like, because when I first started doing the streams, like I had a theme every week and I was learning new covers and stuff. So after I'm done with 5090 in October, I'm going to be doing a lot more like themes where I'm going to be learning new songs and debuting some of my new original songs and stuff like that. So trying to keep it interesting. I mean, we don't know what's happening with Facebook now because a lot of people are saying Facebook is trying to block music more.
What?
There's like this thing. Facebook is saying that they're changing their terms of service, that if you're going to do music, like it might get blocked if it's copyrighted. So people are wondering if like all cover songs are going to get blocked and stuff, but they haven't really clarified. So
yeah, but I mean, like if you perform a cover song live at a venue, it's technically, I mean, is it copyrighted? Do I need to have a license to perform?
Well, what
Because
happens?
it's live streamed and recorded and then captured.
No, what happens is like you need a PRO license. So like the venue is the one that would get the license. So any venue that legally has live music, they would have a license. And Facebook and Instagram and YouTube have actually recently got those licenses.
Yeah.
But they're also like you're supposed to also have like a sync license if it's a video, which is like a completely separate thing.
Yeah.
And I don't know, like, but I'm not really sure. I think they might just be talking about the recordings. Of course, like by the time this podcast comes out, we're either going to sound really stupid or I don't know, because we'll find out what's happening. I have no idea. They could start blocking stuff, or it might be nothing. I don't really know.
It would be cover songs only, right?
I think so. Like people are getting confused because the wording that they used was they said, you can't use Facebook videos or live videos to create a live music listening experience or a music listening experience. So
why would they do that right now?
To me, that just sounds like a DJ set or like posting music. But like some people are saying maybe they mean like a live music too. But I don't know why they would get rid of that because like they're making so much traffic and money off of it. So.
Totally. I think the only reason that they would do that is because there's some sort of way that they can make more money. It's like if you perform a cover song, you have to pay a certain fee every single time.
Not doing that.
You know, this really is not the time and place to go ahead and ban live music online. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, I know. I know, but it's also like the labels, I guess they might be cracking down too. Like I have no idea what's going on.
Yeah, like the
but I guess
labels.
we'll figure out more about that in the next few weeks, like what's happening.
My big question would be, I guess, like to perform my own original song, since all of my songs are copywritten, I would just have to like get my channel approved for my songs, you know, with my distributor or whatever.
I know. And it's really confusing because like some people are like, yeah, what happens if I have my own music on the content ID system and then Facebook recognizes it, but I have the right to perform it. So it's like, because a lot of these systems are automated, so like there's no way to like flag it if they make a mistake. And a lot of times they're just like, well, they don't care because they're like, they just don't want to get sued, but they're ruining the whole environment, you know?
I think that's a big reflection of like everything going on in the world. And it's like, oh, okay, we'll close it down, close all of it down. No concerts for a year, no festivals ever again. You can't even look at your friends. You can't even think about looking at your friends. Don't even think about hugging anyone. Just here's this box. You know, I feel like, oh my gosh, it just made me think of Kimmy Schmidt when she like that show where and then she moves to New York City and he's like, here, you can lease out this extra room we have. And it's just like a big closet and it's just like everything smaller and smaller. And it's like, I feel like at the end of the day, I'm just going to go into the closet and unplug myself and like stand there like a robot. Like, give me life, give me liberty. Yeah.
I know. Like, I'm just going to keep making do with what I have. Like, hopefully it never gets so bad like that. Like, I wish everything was open, but I feel like I still have like a lot of opportunities in my life, you know, and hopefully it just doesn't get any worse before it gets better.
Right. And I, you know, I'm always interested to see how I'll react to stuff too, because this has been beneficial as an artist. I've written a lot of songs that are like, this is beneficial. I'm definitely okay with being in a place of this emotional kind of unease because I've already felt comfortable in this place. I've been in this place for years. Emotional uncomfortability, blocking myself from other people, isolating for extended periods of time. Oh, I have to do that and it's mandated? No problem. I'll be inside for 3 months. See you guys later.
But then that's a problem for a lot of socially anxious people, isn't it? Because a lot of people work on themselves and you get to a point where you feel like you're better at it. And then like this kind of just undoes everything that you've ever worked on for that. Like try to be better, because like everybody who had social anxiety is probably going to have to start over when this is all over.
It's so true. It's so true. And like, I was looking forward to, because I've been in LA now for like 2 years. I lived here before for like almost 6 years. And then I've been back for almost 2 years. And I had just gotten accustomed to like getting my footing as like, you know, a sober individual in Los Angeles. And then it's like, okay, let me go meet some friends. It's like, let me go try to date people. And then it's like, boom, closed down.
Yeah.
No AA meetings, nothing. I was just about to get to the phase where I went to regular places to meet people too. But you know,
but you've still been staying healthy and everything.
Yeah. I mean, to be quite honest, I went through a phase that, haven't admitted this to anyone yet besides my close friends, but I was going to admit it to my audience soon enough. I did end up drinking alcohol again. I was sober for 1.5 years. And I did drink alcohol from April on and off because it started really slowly from April till August.
Oh.
I like just stopped. But yeah, I mean, the hard part about it is that one, I'm an alcoholic. So like I wanted to test it out again. You know, I'd been sober for 1.5 years and I was like, well, am I really an alcoholic? You know, I went from like kind of this college age to 25 and then I just stopped drinking. Do I really know what it's like to drink moderately? Okay, well, everything's closed down. I can't make a fool of myself in public. This would be the time for me to figure out if I truly am an alcoholic or if I was just going through an extended party phase, an extended adolescent phase. So I tested it out. April went okay, May went okay. And then around June, I started to realize I was like, because I wasn't really drinking too much before, because I was like making a point to myself. I'd been away from it for so long. I didn't want to like drink too much. And then it was like some of those same patterns started to come out again. And I was like, oh, okay, well, I'm an alcoholic. And then it was like June and July, me coming to terms with that and giving it up again. So it's cool because it's brought about a new resolve for me where I'm like extra more passionate about being able to be honest with myself and being able to be secure in being sober and realizing that alcohol, it's different with everyone. Everyone's relationship with it is different. But for me, it just doesn't serve me at all. And I don't serve anyone while I'm under the influence, even if it's not like under the influence. Just like, you know, I had a couple drinks on Friday or something. It just doesn't work for me like that. So I came about in a new resolve where I'm like, okay, well, this is who I am, and I've come to peace with it. So it's been okay because it was during the quarantine. No one saw anything. Nothing bad happened. I'm not like ashamed of myself. There's nothing else that's new, not necessarily, that I'm ashamed about that I have to like, oh, I can't believe I did that. But just that realization of like, I hope other people are okay too.
Yeah.
I'm actually going to my first in-person meeting tonight because we've had Zoom meetings and stuff like
really
that.
good.
So it's been beneficial and like difficult at the same time, but I did the full circle and I came around. So I hope that other people who maybe someone's listening, if you did the full circle and you're coming around, just reach out to people and, you know, do what's best for you. I can't believe I just admitted that, but I had to. So. Yeah.
No, and that's good that you didn't let yourself get completely derailed. I mean, I think that
Yeah.
shows a certain strength too. I mean, yeah, it is sad because I'm sure that there's people that did get derailed and like are not going to come out of it, you know, like that people that aren't going to come back, but kind of sucks. Yeah.
Well, we're still in the middle of it too, because like for me, I was like,
Yeah.
okay, I'm done with this, but we're still in the middle of like the quarantine and stuff, and
Yeah.
we'll find new ways to heal as people.
Yeah.
Sorry to end on such a note, but I feel like, you know, this is what it's all about. Is there anything you'd like to share with our audience about maybe on the same topic or like some words of wisdom?
That's hard to say. I would say try to learn from my example because I am prone to mental health issues and I definitely had some issues at the beginning. Like I had a couple of breakdowns and just if you need help, if you know that you need professional help, then definitely get it. But if it's just kind of like mild or moderate issues, like try to stay positive, try to look at the world. Like when you look at the world and you look at your life, try to look in terms of like what opportunities and like pleasures you still have available to you and not like the bad things and the things that you don't have, because like there's always like something to live for and there's always something to wake up for. And I've been getting through this. I've been keeping myself busy with a lot of online stuff and just my own solitary activities and goals I'm working on. And I feel like I'm gonna come out of this like stronger and better than ever. So
Yeah. I sense that too. Well, thank you so much for being on the podcast today. Thank you everyone for tuning in. Amanda Rose Riley. We will have all the links in Amanda Rose Riley. We'll have all the links in the description on how to contact her, how to listen to her music, and any links to her social media. Thanks, y'all. We're here for you. Reach out if you need anything, especially since you know some of my own skeletons in the closet. Take care. Peace.